when it says live, you want to take over for a minute, Marshall? Introduce. You're live.
Okay. Good afternoon. We are at the Glass House's studio with Henry McClure, myself, Marshall Barber. I'm the good guy in the white hat. And our special guest is Michael Ogle, who is a veteran. What branch of the service?
Was in the Army.
He's in the Army. And Michael is running for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District. And it is a rather crowded Republican primary. I know that you were on a candidate forum on Channel 13 last week, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How did that go?
I think it went really great. I was able to get some good points across. The thing of it is you don't know about what questions they're going to ask, so you have to think about your positions ahead of time and respond, and then you only get 2 minutes to respond. So some of the things I think I didn't get enough time to really respond to get everything in, but I think the candidate forum went really well for me. And if you were watching, I did propose to my girlfriend Nicole, and she said yes. So we are engaged to be married. And
Why should you be happy?
Your girlfriend's name is what?
Nicole, Nikoe. So it's not Nicole, it's Nicole.
There can't be many women with that name. Does she work for Green Pest
She
Services?
sure does. Yes.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, this is another example of the
Small
world theory.
Yeah.
Because I just met Nicole last week because I manage.
Were you making a move?
Please.
She's a beautiful woman.
What, you want to get me punched here? What
No,
are you
I'll
doing?
help
No, I manage townhomes, 24 townhomes up north, Northern Sky Townhomes.
Mhm.
And we decided recently to switch pest control services to Green.
No.
And she has come up and taken care of 2 of our 4plexes.
Very good at what she does.
Oh, and I'll tell you what, the people that she has called on so far love her to death.
All right, so real quickly,
So that's an interesting connection right there.
we're live on the Henry McClure Live Studios in the Glass Houses. I got one of our shows took a little longer to reboot and format.
Sure.
So we've got 2. We're going live out here on YouTube, and we're going live on Facebook. And in the Glass Houses studio today is Michael Ogle, candidate for Congress.
Yes, sir.
So thank you. We just had Nancy Boyd in the studio.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah, it was a fun interview.
I bet.
Yeah. So let's
there-
talk. Take over.
Well,
Let's talk about it. I interrupted your story about meeting his fiance.
I'll just say for the benefit of anybody who happens to be watching this, if you're interested in pest control services, I'm telling you, this Green company, I hope I'm saying their name right.
Yeah.
They have good people working for them. And my residents, who for the most part are a little on the elderly side, they just loved her because she went up and took care of a couple of problems.
She's a wonderful woman. I
Very
tell you,
thorough.
Yeah, I was an infantry officer, and she's a pest control specialist. And when we met, we had long romantic conversations about area denial. And so
About what?
Area denial.
What's that?
Well, if you don't want things pests in, you got to deny them access.
Oh,
As an
okay.
infantry
Okay.
officer, sometimes we do that sort of stuff.
I get you. Now, was she in the military herself?
No,
Okay.
she's a pest. She does pest control. She loves it.
Because she has.
She's on a war against pests.
That's right.
Well, she has a very well organized demeanor that
Yeah.
sometimes bespeaks a military background.
She's very, very wonderful.
And,
I love
yeah.
her dearly.
Well, this
Did
is
she
interesting.
outrank you?
I mean, around the house, absolutely.
Okay. I think this is it's going down the right road, the right path.
So, okay, on the level, if I can just ask a few political questions,
Sure.
do you have a preference about? Well, first of all, how's the race going from your perspective?
I mean, I think it's going great. I
you think
it's-
you got a chance?
Yeah, it's anybody's race at this point. There's advantages and disadvantages that every candidate brings. Some candidates are a little more financed than others. Some candidates are just out there swinging as hard as they can. But the reality is there's a lot that every candidate brings to the table, and I think that the voters have a really good decision or hard decision to make because we're all bringing a little bit of goodness to the table, and we're all bringing a little bit different perspective to the table. So it's good.
So how do you how do you out there swinging away compete against $700,000?
Well, I do it with a message that's just pure, and I do it with the message of our founders. You know, I'm for liberty, I'm for domestic tranquility, I am for the more perfect union, and these are the things I want to pursue if I get there, and if I get to Washington, and I want to do it for all people. You know, our founders secured independence. We had a war for independence. The struggle for liberty wasn't available for all people. It wasn't. And we've struggled for liberty for a long time, and we've gone into about it multiple ways, and we've gone away from American idealism to even try and get there. Well, we need to get back to American idealism, and we need to put it, you know, we need to secure American ideas, American fundamental ideas for all people. And when I talk about these things, it really goes over well. And I want to, I want to make America the best it can be. I put America first my whole life. There's no one that could say, that Mike Ogle has never thought hardly about the problems that America faces and wanted to be the guy. And I think I'm the best guy in this race, and that's why I'm running. If I thought somebody else could do it better than me, by gosh, I would let them do it. But I don't. I think that I'm the guy, and that's why I'm running.
So tell us a little bit about your, you just threw out a number when we were talking about just introducing you to about how much money have you brought back to veterans?
Well, so it works off, we have a $350,000 budget in 2023. We brought back six of us, me and six other VFW VSLs, bring back $250 million to the state of Kansas.
That's huge.
Yeah, in compensation benefits for veterans who are to become disabled due to service. And that's just the compensation benefit piece. So those tax dollars are spent, those dollars that come back to veterans are spent in local economies, right? Veterans in Kansas are spending those dollars in Kansas. But the other piece is healthcare is great. We bring that if you get above 50% healthcare or 50% service connected, your healthcare is paid for by the VA. Now, when Trump was in office, he expanded the community care program. Now, then those dollars get spent in rural community hospitals or Kansas community hospitals. So that's even more than saying, well, we're just going to have a VA. So then those dollars prop up rural healthcare. They prop up healthcare systems here in Kansas. And we're very proud of what we do. We think we're an asset to the state of Kansas for what we do for veterans.
Well, that's good. So I mean, that's an awesome answer, but tell us a little bit about your service personally.
Personally, well, I gotta tell you, when I think about it, it was kind of like a shotgun splatter. I commissioned as an infantry officer. I joined up in '98, graduated early. Was in the Navy briefly, and I got an ROTC scholarship. And then it didn't. The ROTC, my grandpa had cancer and passed away, and frankly, it put me in an environment where I was too close to home, so I was not doing well in school. So I got out, joined the Guard, recommit. We went to OCS in 2006.
OCS,
yes, Officer Candidate School.
Okay.
Commissioned in 2007. Went to the infantry officer basic course. So I'm an infantry officer. I'm a grunt, and then
second lieutenant.
I was a second lieutenant. And really the Guard asked me to do just about everything but be an infantry officer. We went down to Hurricane Gustav, and it was people say Gustav wasn't that bad, but I got to tell you, we were standing out there on this levee, and the Army Corps of Engineers was looking at me, and they say, Mike, don't put your guys out there, right? This levee's going to break, and all these houses are going to flood afterwards. I said, well, I got orders, and I don't have communication. So we did it. We went out, we marched out on that levee, and we sandbagged just one platoon from Kansas for hours, from like 04:30 in the morning to like 17:30. And the Louisiana National Guard showed up about 1700, but about 17:30, the Army Corps of Engineers came up and said, Mike, this levee's going to hold. Kansas was in that fight. Yeah, Kansas was in that fight, and we were in that fight, and we helped Louisiana out, New Orleans out a great deal. And that's one of my proudest moments. But after that, as a lieutenant, they moved me into being a executive officer, and we helped change the infantry platoon or infantry company that we were in to an engineer company. So they asked me to do that, and we did that. And that was a trying challenge to get guys that were infantry. They have a lot of pride to change their duty to being combat engineers. And so we did that. And then I served as a budget officer. I served as a I was the honor graduate of the logistics captain's career course. I did public affairs for a while, and then went back to being an infantry planner, future operations planner with the 35th Infantry Division. You know, and the whole way, what do I really value is my impact on soldiers, their lives, and my commitment to making their lives better. And I've always thought, you know, if you just take care of your people, they'll take care of you. And I got to tell you, an officer, I'm not the strongest guy. I'm not even the smartest guy. I'm just the guy that puts the plan together. I can't win a war. It's the enlisted guys that win the wars, do the fights, and that's just the reality of it. But you got to use them correctly, and you got to respect them and take care of them so they can do that for you.
So over time, you became a full lieutenant.
Well, yeah, well, it's a second lieutenant, first lieutenant, captain, then I retired as a major.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
So, and
selling you short.
yeah, well, yeah, and
That's a lot of rank.
well, it kind of is. It's kind of mid grade, and a lot of majors move on. I was ready to be done. But the cool thing about being the officer that I was that I was not at a position where it was overly political yet. You know, my feet were somewhat still in the trenches at a mid grade officer rank, and so I relate well to the common guy, but I can relate up the chain of command really well too. So it's very good.
So I'm going to ask one more military question. So there's a big leap from major to lieutenant colonel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, not necessarily really the major. So I didn't go to the war college, but at major they send you to the war college, and then you go to lieutenant colonel, and lieutenant colonel is generally where a lot of the command battalion level commands are at. And then it was kind of interesting. The force structure changed during the global war on terror to colonels actually fighting the brigades or commanding the brigades, and then that's why we had to do the change of structure in our company level stuff, because it was all combined arms type of stuff. And now they're getting back to having the generals command the brigades again, which I think is right, and they're not as combined. So it's just tactically and organizationally, you know, that's what officers do. You know, that's what leaders do. We're agents of change, and as the orders come down, we just help the change happen. So
I'm kind of wondering if you're in Congress as a former military guy, as a VFW guy, once you're there, how do you see yourself voting or interacting with the, I guess, the executive branch in terms of our foreign policy and in terms of our military involvement around the world?
well,
Anything in particular there
yeah,
that you're interested in?
my politics, my stance is the stance of Washington, General Washington, who said, "Be weary of unnecessary foreign entanglements." My stance is the stance of General Eisenhower, who was weary of the military-industrial complex, and we really have to be mindful of what we get involved in across the world and make sure it serves America's interest. Because really, the threat that we have right now, I believe, is a economic war with China. And if we're wasting, or not wasting, but if we're spending our assets and our resources and contributing to foreign entanglements around the world that we really shouldn't be in, then we're not doing the things we need to do to secure the American economy for the U.S. citizen. And that's what we really need to do. And I think Donald Trump's kind of got the right idea, because he said in the 1988 interview with Oprah, okay, he said, we've got to ask our allies to do more. I don't mind being the big kid on the block. I don't mind engaging in nuclear deterrence. But as far as American resources to do more than that, I think we do need to ask our allies to do more.
How do we face off against China? Returning
Well,
the Chinese thing.
the issue is energy independence. This is another big point of my campaign. We just got out of the 20-year war in Afghanistan. The Biden administration didn't get us out for any good reason. Whether you think we should have got out or not, we got out to let China in to mine lithium. And China, I served in the Horn of Africa. China's over there buying up swaths of land the size of Nebraska to mine lithium. We subsidize the lithium energy that comes over here. And we put it in our cars. We subsidize it for the research for lithium. We subsidize lithium cars, in lithium energy. And that's really making the Chinese economy go. They had a period of time where they had sex selection abortions. No matter how you feel about abortion, the sex selection abortion, now they've got a surplus of males, military age males. And because they all wanted men in the 70s and 80s, 90s, they could only have one kid, so they all had males. And so, but now they're exporting those men. They got a surplus. They don't mind sending them 20, 30 years to a place like Afghanistan, Africa, even America. There was 60,000 Chinese males, military age males, apprehended at the border and over the last few years. And so they don't mind exporting them to mine this lithium. Well, we need to secure American energy independence on American oil and American, whatever we need to do to produce energy here, we need to do it. Now, lithium is here. Lithium is in the United States, but they won't mine it here. And I'll tell you why they won't mine it here, because it's not a green process. So whatever they're selling you, lithium's green. It's not green. They could start mining, and you could look. It's not a green thing.
I mean, what's left over from lithium mining is just terrible.
Yeah, it's absolutely
Really?
ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
So,
it's like makes fracking look like home gardening.
yeah, and the problem with getting our lithium from China is it's just not a green solution, for one, and two, oil trades on futures. The price of oil is based off what they think their future revenue will be. Well, if we're trying to transition our energy to some energy that's going a different direction, well, oil prices are going to be higher. The cost to get goods and services to market are going to be higher. The cost of the pump is going to be higher. And we need to lower the cost so we can get the grocery price down, get the price of goods and services down for the American citizen, and get the opportunity to produce the oil for the American citizen. This is American exceptionalism secured on the back of American jobs and American energy, and this is what we need to do.
Well, so
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, with regards to lithium and electric vehicles in general, do you have any thoughts or leanings in particular about using maybe tax incentives or whatever to encourage people to go electronic with their vehicles? Or
No,
where,
I don't think
where
we
you
should
at
do
on
that at all. I don't, because here's the thing. Like I said, the oil trades on futures. All right. And when you incentivize the creation of a separate form of energy that's not green, so it doesn't do what we want, what they're saying it does, it's a lie. It's like saying that President Biden was healthy. And I really hate
He's sharp as a tack.
No, I really hate picking on President Biden because, he doesn't know what he's doing, but somebody told us he was healthy. So I don't mind picking on them.
Well, who's running the country?
I don't know. That's the problem.
Is that treason?
Absolutely. They should have taken care of this a long time
Oh, look
ago.
at him. Look at him. I got him.
The T word. Now, in the second district, driving down to Burlington, I'd noticed lots of these wind turbines.
Yeah.
And are you hearing much?
Yeah. In fact,
about
up
those?
in Seneca and Nemaha County and Brown County, they're talking about it a lot. Well, what they want to do is they run a power line back to the East Coast. So the wind turbines, they come in, they've subsidized them, and the landowner gets so much money. I think it's $5,000 per wind turbine. But they want to run a power line that takes a 2.5 mile area of restriction all the way back across the East Coast, which they're going to do on eminent domain. The federal government wants to do it on eminent domain. Well, this is the Keystone Pipeline over again. The reason people didn't want that was because it was going to take up a bunch of people's land on eminent domain. Well, why then would you say, well, we got wind turbine energy, but we want to have this eminent domain that is now going to take up this 5-mile swath of land all the way back to the East Coast on eminent domain? The people in Nemaha County, the people in Brown County that are faced with this decision now are regretting putting wind in. They say that it causes the light pollution because the red lights, you can't go out and look out the night sky as you used to and just have some peace. But they're going to get part of their farm taken away on this eminent domain issue.
Wow. I did not know
the
that.
wind turbines, again, you have to get them to market with what? Oil, because you have to put them on a huge big truck and bring them to market, and you have to lube up the moving parts, oil. All the stuff we're trying to do is just not good. Subsidy good. It's just like it's creating a false industry and a false security for other people. Now, I think climate change is real. I'm not opposed to addressing climate change. Okay, I think the climate has changed for the history of the world Okay, if you go to KU, they'll show you that Kansas was once underwater. There was fossils. If you go to Africa, they say, oh, Sahara Desert was once a tropical rainforest. People migrated away, migrated when the climate changed, and that's what people have done forever. Now, the UN is saying there'll be 250 million refugees around the world because they're migrating away from food sources that were once viable and are not viable anymore. They're migrating to other areas where they can get food. We've had this boom of industry, the location of cities. So over 100 years, well, we've had this boom of population in the cities. Now we have to mine. Well, Kansas should lead the way on this. What we need to do is secure appropriations for Kansas farmers, the Kansas ag industry, to address seed production, to address how we can move food production along with these migrants, or if we can maintain the cities that we're in for these migrants, because the food production is really what's causing the big problem with the climate change.
So are you hearing from many people in the agricultural world?
Yeah, I mean, I talk to a lot of the agricultural people. Some of my greatest friends are farmers. They've talked to me about the idea, and we have a little bit of it here of what I'm talking about. But we need to do more, and we need to export Kansas ingenuity and know-how. It's really time for Kansas to lead the solutions to what the left and the green folks are asking us for are here in Kansas, and it's addressing migration issues, refugee issues through agriculture. I'm not owned by any agricultural um,
Or
lobbyist.
anybody.
I'm not owned by anybody. Yeah, so I would listen to everybody about what they want to do agricultural wise. But the fact of the matter is, I can make any decision I want because I'm not owned by anybody.
Which would lead me to
Well,
the
wait a
question.
minute. Didn't he just get engaged?
Hey, shut up.
All right.
That leads to the question: what what issues in particular are you hearing as a candidate? What are people telling you they would like you to take care of first and foremost? Now, I know that veterans issues are important to you.
Yeah, the veterans
For
issues
starters.
are very important, and let's just start with veterans issues. We have the PACT Act, and the PACT Act just came out, and it doesn't do what we need it to do. What it does is it puts veterans on a registry, and they're going to study the health effects of the people that were exposed to toxins over the next 20 years till they're 30 years. By then, we'll all be dead, and they'll tell us how we died. Right. Well, here's the deal. I've got soldiers that I served with, my soldiers, my personal soldiers that I led, that come into my office whose livers are shot, whose kidneys are failing, and it's all due to the toxins that they were exposed to.
Now, where is your office?
Is that
I'm
Scotch or
sorry, I'm
vodka?
sorry to interrupt, but let's just be clear
Okay.
what your office is.
I have a VFW office in VFW. It's in the Topeka, VA.
Okay, let's be serious. That was a joke.
Yeah, I know.
Tell
but-
us about the
Okay,
toxins.
so the toxins, the TCDD,
Please.
the TCDD, what it does is it attaches to your fat cells. TCDD was the same dioxin that was in Agent Orange, and it's also produced by industrial burning of trash if it's not filtered. So you can filter it and it'll collect the TCDD, but if you unfilter it, which is what they did, then it lets it all out into the open. So it attaches to your fat cells, then it gets processed through your liver and through your kidneys over the next 40 years in half-lives, and it just destroys people's insides. It's a carcinogen, a known carcinogen. It's an endocrine system disruptor, so your hormones, thyroid, is they're all screwed up. It causes weight gain. When your thyroid gets screwed up, just about every single medical problem that I see can in some way be related to the TCDD. Now, TCDD is everywhere. Okay, there's a little bit of it everywhere. The PCBs or the whatever the dioxins, but when we are exposed to industrial burning or tactical herbicides like Agent Orange, you're super saturated with this stuff.
But talk about real quick, where was the industrial burning done? That was actually, I remember this story on another show, but explain it again.
Well, just about everywhere with the global war on terrorism, there was industrial burning. So like the Middle East, so Africa, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan.
But this
Djibouti.
is where you guys are camping.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all out there. We're all stationed there, and we're all stationed right next to these industrial burn pits and open burning. And yeah, we're all sick. Some of these chemicals, when you burn plastic, it can cause hallucinations. I talked to a guy who's a very, very smart guy, a very high-ranking guy, And he told me a story about how, he was sitting in his living unit, his CLU, containerized living unit is what they call them, and he couldn't figure out why the thing was on fire. And he trying to put the fire out, and the thing wasn't on fire. It's that these toxins can cause sometimes hallucinations. Well, when you think about a soldier at war, and they're dealing with the warfare that's real, but you're also dealing with hallucinations that may or may not come up, and you may not be able to realize, depending on your intelligence level, what the hallucination is, or if it's real or not.
And that just doesn't go away.
No.
Okay, so veterans issues, generally speaking,
Yeah.
relating to that specifically, it is one thing you're running on.
Yeah.
What other issues are people telling you they would like you to take care of?
So the border is one, and we talk about the border, and I want to do, whatever we do there, we have to do it humanely. I've talked about sending military direct action forces to cut the head off the fentanyl, the drugs, the human traffickers, the human smugglers, the drug traffickers that want to come up from Mexico. We can stop that with direct action forces. And if Mexico and they haven't been successful in doing it, we just need to help them out. And we can send our foreign internal defense assets, which is U.S. Special Forces, to build up solid cities in Mexico that can resist criminality that's making the United States of America weaker. Now we need to put the National Guard on the border and surveil with Gray Eagle assets. I'm not for separating parents and their children. If you look at government action over time, it may sound good right now. Let's get rid of them, support them. But if we separate parents and their children 20 years from now, 30 years from now, that child's going to be pretty ticked off.
Yeah.
And it's going to become a problem. So as long as we have parents that are trying to do right by their kids, we need to find opportunity for them.
And so immigration's another big issue. I guess if I could just ask a more political question, how do you see yourself standing vis-a-vis your more heavily financed opponents? That would be obviously Derek Schmidt and
Sure.
Jeff Cars.
Well,
I'm not sure who the
I
other
got to
two
tell
candidates
you,
are.
the reality is that if we're gonna make a great America, if we're gonna secure American exceptionalism, it's going to take our lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, and that's what I've put into my campaign is my fortune and my sacred honor. And I don't mind saying that I've got a firm alliance. This is also from the Declaration of Independence. I've got a firm alliance in divine providence that if I'm the guy, money will come and the campaign will be financed. So it'll be fun. I think if you cast a vote for me in the primary, and I don't think it should matter right now what the finances are, because I think the financing will come with time. And I think the message is pure enough that it'll apply to enough people that even if one second district is really Republican. So a Republican candidate's going to sit well. On independents, I think I sit really well with independents. And with Democrats, I think I really sit well with Democrats. Some of them, because the way I can explain American history, we need to make a lot of people understand that it applies to their positions and platforms now. There's a lot of things that I've talked about to people at areas that are heavily Democrat. And I actually got standing ovations in areas that were heavily Democrat. People where the other Republicans wouldn't even go. But the reason I did was because I was able to relate the American history to their envisioned plight. And that goes over really well.
So you have a different perspective. The two leading candidates on the Republican side have both spent a lot of time on the public payroll for most of their professional lives. You, on the other hand, have been in the military.
Yeah.
And now you're working with the VFW to help others who've been in the military. And how does this make you better suited to serve the interests of the average citizens of the second district?
Well, the reality is I'm still an average citizen. I'm just a kid from Kansas who joined the military. I graduated high school early to join the
Where'd you go
military.
to high school?
Well, I went to Topeka West. And
You went to West?
Yeah.
All right.
Once a Charger, always a
Yeah.
Charger.
But I graduated from Shawnee Heights, actually.
There
I
you
was
go.
getting there. But
All right.
so the way it worked out, Topeka West went to the block system, and then Shawnee Heights didn't. So like I was like a couple credits ahead, and I realized I could graduate early, so I transferred to Shawnee Heights and graduate early and join the military. That's what I wanted to do. That's all I've ever wanted to do. And so I'm just a kid from Kansas who did what he wanted to do and wanted to do stuff for his country, wanted to serve his country. And it's cost me, there's things that I've experienced that I'm really glad I was there to lead the way to help other soldiers and other veterans, and I'm still serving. That's the big thing with the VFW is still serving, and I'm still helping my soldiers. I'm still helping soldiers from the Vietnam. I got to tell you, when you get a soldier in or a service member in from the Vietnam era that comes into the office and you get them 100% because now they've got their service connection and they're getting their money. Well, if they would have come in after they got home from Vietnam, they'd had $2 million probably by now and health care in their pocket for their service connected disabilities. But because they came, these guys are crying, and they're crying because they know someone finally cared about them. When I talk to a Vietnam veteran, I always say welcome home, and they need to hear it. So when you see a Vietnam veteran, say welcome home.
Amazing. And when I think about Vietnam, I think about the first televised war. I remember as a child watching Vietnam on TV and the embedded assets. And then I think about Eisenhower putting the first people over in Cambodia and in the east to try to prop up that area.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I'm kind of fascinated about the Eisenhower foresight of the industrial war complex.
Yeah.
He did warn us, and I want to
He
read.
did, yes.
I want to read some books on that.
Well, here's the reality. The French Foreign Legion had a huge war, Indochina War in Vietnam, and they were not doing well, and they were going to get out. But it wasn't really anything that, like, the trade wasn't there. Russia was backing one side, we were backing the other side. I would be for sending United States assets to secure our trade, because if we can't do business, then we can't get anything done. But if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense.
Well, the French and their plantations in Indochina, it's amazing. The assets, the farms, and all that they had, they were there just defending their farms.
Yeah, and it's rubber production. I mean, I'm getting into an area I don't know as much about in history, but the guys that did go over and serve, they fought valiantly, they fought hard. There's a lot of Topekans, I can tell you, that fought really hard, and they're amazing citizens. They're doing amazing things now, and some of them are still living with those demons. And my office is where it happens. We take care of PTSD, we take care of combat trauma, we take care of military sexual trauma, we take care of cancer, we take care of other disease, we take care of injury due to military service, and it's a lot of tears. A lot of the times, it's a lot of tears. But
actually, Truman was the first one to put the advisors in the Indonesian area.
Yeah,
but
Really?
Yeah, he did. So this burning, the burning problem and the health issues from that, it's mind blowing.
yeah,
It really
it's
is.
nuts. I mean, and the reality is, they had the burning. It's kind of the way people did business. But the EPA realized in 1980, that this was causing problems for people, and they banned the open burning of trash everywhere in the continental United States. And every state in the union bans open burning of trash, industrial burning of trash, and has laws against even local burning of trash for the same reason. Burning wood is fine. Burning, there's things that you can burn, there's things you can't burn, right?
Right.
So, but the reality is that they knew that going in. They knew that.
I mean, you think about some of the buildings, like when we built Gordman's,
Yeah.
it was originally Arlen
Yeah.
in the early 60s. It had an incinerator
Yeah.
attached to it, but it was just for combustible,
Yeah.
cardboard and wood.
Yeah,
things
there,
like that.
and there's things so that
Pallets.
there's things like that. There's wood. That's okay. There's things that are not okay, and then there's things like I said, you can put a filter on it. So then you have to look at whether it's got a filter on it. If they had to put a filter on it and just not just have a big open pit where everything's burning, it would have been fine. But they didn't do that.
Well, so we're kind of running late. Do you have any last questions?
Well, my question would be if somebody wants to support you for Congress,
Where do we find
what's the channel for that?
Well, I've got Michael A. Ogle for Congress on Facebook, and there's a YouTube channel. So Mike for America 2 at gmail.com is the email. And if you'd like to support me, I've got a PayPal. I can send you the link, send me an email, and I'll send you the PayPal.
Well,
link.
you'll be able to put this down in the comments. I'll send you the link. What's the A stand for?
The A is for America.
All right.
Vote for the veteran. The A is for the A on the
Michael
ballot.
A. Ogle.
That's right. the A.
Michael America Ogle. All right.
And it's just been one of the greatest things. We do need to balance the budget. We need to secure American energy independence. We need to look back to the history of our founders and not to the politics of division. We need to secure American liberty for all, liberty and justice for all, and not just a few. Now, it's been a long road, and we didn't get there in July 4, 1776. We got independence. We need to work every day to secure liberty and justice for all, and that's what I'm about. That's what I'm going to do.
There you go.
Well,
Michael
thank you
A.
for
Ogle.
time in the studio. I appreciate it. Now let's get Jeff Cars in here and the other fella. Anyway, Henry McClure Live. Thank you, Michael A. Ogle, for coming into the show today. And thanks for tuning in.
Absolutely.
All right.
Who are the other two candidates? There's